Howdy ho, everyone. This is the next episode of the Listen to My Opinion podcast, and I am making this a couple of days after UFC 261, where it was an insane night of action. It was just like, it was almost unpredictably crazy, to be honest with you. But you know I gotta talk about Thug Rose. Rose Namajunas is she is in my top 3 favorite fighters, like across everything. Men's, women's divisions, it doesn't matter. She's in the top 3. Watching her fight is a complete privilege, and I was telling people that she has a realistic chance of winning, and I feel like people who don't just hate Rose outright understood that she had a real chance of winning, but there were a lot of people who were acting like Zhang was this, unkillable tank. And if you watch her first fight with Joanna, it's a back and forth war for a reason. It's not like Joanna has never been a power puncher ever. She's never been a power striker. She's all about volume, and going to war with her like that and taking that kind of damage, you can't take that kind of damage if Rose is hitting you. And Rose is better at setting up her strikes. So I knew that Rose had a chance to win. But I let my colleagues influence me a bit too much, and I believed in the whole, Weili Zhang's a tank and she will take it to the later rounds and then destroy Rose. I let that buy into me. I will no longer believe that anymore. I think that, Jessica Andrade is probably Rose's hardest challenge just for the physicality issues, but I do think that Rose has a path to victory in that. She could realistically win a decision. If she fights smart, she can avoid the clinch, win 3 rounds, and avoid any 10-8s and literally win. I think that that's a real possibility, but not to get too sidetracked, the fight itself was really beautiful because I think it really highlights the gap in skill between Zhang and Rose, because I feel like everyone should have known that Rose has a technique advantage. She is a more skilled fighter than Weili Zhang. She just is. She's got a better coach, and she has shown way more skills for mixed martial arts in the octagon. Now, being technically better than your opponent does not always translate to a win. So, that doesn't mean that she was definitely going to win, but I just think that her, with her in and out movement being so fluid and never knowing what's coming, and then taking advantage of Weili Zhang's built-in response to lead leg kicks, and then she exploited that in such a devastating way. That's why I don't understand analysts and people who watch mixed martial arts and really try to study it and love the sport, why they don't like Rose Namajunas. I don't understand. Maybe personally you don't like her, but as a fighter, why do you root for her to not do good? Can you not recognize that she's one of the best we've seen in women's mixed martial arts? She's absolutely one of the best. Her skill is so good. That's what we all love fighting for, right? I'm sure some of us just love fighting because it's just complete brutality and, big muscles and stuff. But I feel like a lot of us really appreciate martial arts, and especially those who train it and those who like to study it, because you really can learn techniques that can negate physical disadvantages that you have. People who are really good fighters have these techniques built in, so that way someone's physicality can't just win out all the time. And Rose perfectly setting up her high kick, and then with perfect accuracy on her high kick. Those are just that's just technique exemplified, and I don't understand why people can't appreciate that. But I appreciate that, and I fucking love it, and I fucking screamed so loud when she won. I really did. I was just so excited that she proved to everyone, once again, that she is the best in the world. And I don't understand why people think that she's weak and has no heart. Yeah, she lost round 3 to Jessica Andrade. She got caught really hard and dropped. Okay. Jessica Andrade hits really hard. And it's not she has advantages over Rose. And they worked in the last round. And that last round's not a complete beatdown either. I would understand if Rose went out there in that 3rd round against Andrade and just got beaten to a pulp and did nothing back. But if you watch the fight, she's hitting Andrade a lot too. It's that 3rd round is definitely Andrade's round, but it's more like they're beating the shit out of each other finally, instead of Rose just beating the shit out of her. You know what I mean? And I just don't like Rose haters, man. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. Appreciate greatness, please. You don't have to think she's the greatest ever, but you got to acknowledge that she's really good. And moving on to the main event, Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman. Man, I didn't even scream for that one because all my emotion was spent on the Rose fight, but I just like was in complete shock. Like that was a jaw dropper. Like I sat there in silence with my jaw, completely dropped, just looking at my TV screen, looking at the friends I was watching it with, and I was just like, man, Usman's just becoming a fucking monster. Like, I don't even think that it's fair at this point, because Kamaru Usman won the belt by being a dominating wrestler. That's how he won the belt. He got and mostly climbed the ranks by holding on to people and hitting takedowns. And that's just what he was good at. He's a terrifying force of nature whenever he can get into those type of physical situations. And if you put him with Trevor Whitman, and now you can't even stand in open space with him. You can't stand in open space with Usman because he'll knock your fucking head off. And that's not fair. That's not a fair thing for MMA. Like, I don't know who the fuck's going to beat this guy. I used to think Leon Edwards would be a good matchup. I really used to think that, but who knows? Who knows? I don't know anymore because Leon Edwards is really active from the clinch. He's really sick with his framework in the clinch. And I think that seeing what Jorge Masvidal did in the first fight, like he could keep that pace and could outstrike Usman in the clinch. But I mean, like in open space now, he's going to get hit by Usman. That's the thing, is that Usman has power and he's getting better and better at straight hitting. And straight hitting in MMA is overpowered. Straight hitting in boxing is a good tool to have, but it's not overpowered because people know how to deal with it. But in MMA, there's so many things to deal with that the most accurate and quickest power punch that you can get out typically works the best, because those strikers just aren't used to those type of situations and they have more things to look out for. So any proficient straight hitter is automatically going to have some degree of success in MMA. And whenever you get Usman doing it at a high level, in addition to straight hitting, also closing the distance in MMA, so that way you can clinch up and hit takedowns. And that is fucking perfect for him, man. Like, he is combining all these tool sets into this one big skill set that is just almost unbeatable. Like, I don't know what people are going to do. I have no idea. Like, obviously, he's not literally unbeatable, but it's looking that way because of the work that he's putting in, and also being smart enough to realize that he needs to leave his camp and train with the best coaches in the world. That's what I wish every good fighter did. I wish people give me shit all the time because, I don't think that John Jones is the GOAT, but if that motherfucker went to like American Top Team in like 2016 or something, this dude would be shitting on people, man. He wouldn't be losing to Dominic Reyes. He wouldn't be barely beating Thiago Santos. He would be shitting on people. But he stays at Greg Jackson. He stays in 2010. And he just stays stagnant, despite being one of the most tremendous talents we've ever seen in MMA. And that's what I love about Usman, is that Usman's like, fuck this, I'm going to get better. I'm going to go to who is currently the best, who is making their fighters better. I'm going there, and I'm going to improve. And that's what he did. And that's what he has done. Like, is there honestly anyone at welterweight that you're like, yeah, definitely, they'll beat Usman? I mean, no. Because now you have to consider striking. You cannot deny Usman's prowess in striking anymore after he flatlined Jorge Masvidal. You can't. You can't do it. Because he didn't just flatline him. It's not like he was getting beat up and he caught him with a good punch. Round one, he just outstruck him. He jabbed the body. Like, he outstruck Jorge Masvidal and got takedowns. He did a good MMA game plan in round one. And in round two, he just landed more of the same until he finally landed an insane fucking punch. And it makes me wonder how much of a genius Trevor Whitman is. Now, there is no way to prove this, but Rose caught Zhang with a pattern that Zhang has shown in her fight. She shows that whenever someone tries to throw a lead leg kick, which is generally a very quick and safe strike to throw, that she likes to pull back like Saenchai or something. Like, I've seen clips of her training and practicing this technique. This is something that is shown on film, something that I saw, and I'm sure other people saw. I don't see why Trevor Whitman, being, 100 times better than I am at game planning, I don't see why he wouldn't see it. And then they capitalized on that move by switching it up. It was like a Taekwondo type of kick where she flicked it upwards quicker than, like, I think anyone could register, much less the person fighting. Like, me sitting on my couch, it just happened so suddenly. And I feel like they game planned for that. And then Masvidal has been dropped by the slap parry straight punch before. I saw this on Twitter. Like, the last time that he's been dropped, no, not dropped, but I think the last time he's been finished was by the guy who slap parries his guard away and then throws a straight punch down the middle. And he got dropped and finished from that. Like, that is crazy. Like, is Whitman finding all these patterns? Did Whitman find those patterns? Because he is both of their coach. And they both landed kill shots, exploiting things that have worked on the fighter in the past. It's pretty crazy. Like, I'm not sure that he specifically game plan for it, but I would not put it past him. And moving on to less important fights of the card, Anthony Smith and Jimmy Crute. I mean, look, I don't care like what happens really, unless he just, goes on some crazy streak. You're never going to get me to say that Anthony Smith is elite. I picked Jimmy Crute to win because I thought that he was a good enough athlete and better technically. But I mean, like, I had no idea Anthony Smith could jab like that. I've seen, I'm not like particularly proud to say this, but I've seen all of Anthony Smith's career, or whatever's on Fight Pass. I watched this whole thing because I really wanted to see, is this guy really as bad as he looks? And a couple of days ago, he looked like a much, much improved version of himself. I mean, he was actually jabbing. Now, Jimmy Crute has no head movement, so I mean, like, it's not like he's a particularly hard person to jab, but like, I can't take that away from Anthony Smith. Like, showing technical improvements always makes me happy. Like, I hope he keeps building on this, so that way he's no longer the fighter I think he is. And there is no point in talking about the Shevchenko fight. I thought that Andrade could do something in the later rounds, but I mean, it was just it was the easiest prediction on the card. And the final fight I think we should discuss is Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall. I don't think anyone saw that coming, especially not to Chris Weidman, just because he's already been involved in one of the most gruesome leg breaks in UFC history. And to be on the receiving end of one is just, I don't want to say poetic justice, because justice implies that it's good that happened to him. And I've already pissed people off on YouTube a bunch by, reacting to it. So I don't want to say it's a good thing, because it's not a good thing. I don't wish harm upon him in that way, but it is ironic. I mean, you can't deny it's ironic. It just is. I'm sorry if that bothers you, if that fact bothers you. I can't change reality, so, but it is ironic that happened to him, and that's really all I have to say about it. Next topic I think would be a good one is Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori have been signed, and they are ready to fight. They are going to fight instead of Robert Whittaker fighting Israel Adesanya. Now, a lot of Robert Whittaker fans like to get upset, and they like to, bitch a lot, and I am a Robert Whittaker fan as well. And, I was thinking if he doesn't fight Izzy next, then, I was going to complain as well. But it makes sense that they're booking the Vettori fight, because whether you like Israel Adesanya or not, you have to respect that he is a very active fighter. He's very, very active. He fights 2 to 3 times a year consistently, and he's going to put in more work in a couple of months and fight Vettori. And Robert Whittaker cannot make that fight just because of injuries and, training camp at proper time, and he deserves proper time to get ready for that fight. So late 2021 is a perfect timetable for him to potentially win his belt back. Now, I'm excited for Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori because I want to see how Israel Adesanya deals with the traditional MMA game plan. And what do I mean by that? If you watched how Jan beat him in his light heavyweight debut, it was by doing a traditional MMA game plan towards the end and just minimizing damage early on. And I don't know if Vettori has the kind of defense needed to pretty much negate and take away Adesanya's long-range tools. I don't know if he can do that. But what I do know is that he is competent at striking, and he will use that striking to set up grappling exchanges. And that's what I want to see. If Adesanya defends the grappling with relative ease, and, Vettori's really doing some punching into grappling, some kicking into grappling, mixing it all together, putting forth a good MMA performance, and Adesanya shuts that down, then I will be less confident in Whittaker getting his belt back. Because as of right now, I'm actually pretty confident that Whittaker can beat Adesanya, even if their first fight went poorly for him. He fought Adesanya in a way that I personally wouldn't tell him to fight Adesanya. And I think that they understand that now, and they're going to put forth a more, traditional game plan in the rematch. And I think Robert is quick enough with his jab and is good enough with his transitional work that he can land scoring offense on Israel Adesanya consistently. It's just going to be hard to close that technical skill gap, but good thing it's MMA, and you don't have to only strike with him. So I am rooting for Israel Adesanya to beat Vettori, just so Whittaker can get his well-deserved rematch against him, avenge the loss, and potentially win his belt back. Also, something I saw on Twitter just scrolling through. It looks like the UFC is going to book Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. Wow, 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 wow. Big surprise. John Jones not fighting a heavyweight. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. Who's shocked, really? I mean, can you honestly sit there and tell me that the guy who's been teasing a heavyweight move since 2013 isn't going to fight a heavyweight? Are you really shocked about that? Like, I want you to really take a good look in the mirror when you're listening to this. Like, rewind the podcast to where I start talking about this. Take a good look at yourself. Do you really believe it? Really? You really believe it's going to happen? Because if you look at it, John Jones literally priced himself out. Now, John Jones deserves a lot of money. I will never argue that. He definitely deserves a lot of money. But you can't vacate your light heavyweight belt and say that the reason you're vacating is because you're fighting at heavyweight. You're going to fight at heavyweight. You already know what you're going to be paid. You already know what the deal is. You're vacating your title because you're going to heavyweight. Think about that. You're giving up your title because you're going to heavyweight. You are confirming it by vacating your title, right? That's what the fans told me. Oh, he wouldn't give up his title if he wasn't going to move to heavyweight. But he did. And now he's talking about money. That's what I tried to explain with my video. That surprisingly got 30,000 views. Thank you very much for thank you very much for watching that. I'm actually surprised it got that many. But that's just what his game plan's been all along. Like, I think he would fight Ngannou if they were like, here's, $50 million. I think he'd do it. Why not? But they're never going to pay him that. And he knows that. He knows that. He knows who he's working with. He's worked with them for his entire career, pretty much. He knows. So he doesn't want to rematch Reyes, or he didn't at least. So vacate the belt, guarantee, and I know you can't see me, but I am doing quotation marks with the fingers, guarantee a heavyweight move, get to heavyweight, and when push comes to shove, oh, well, the UFC doesn't pay people anyway, so guess I'm out. So that way you have a legitimate excuse. Like, no one's going to argue with him about that. The UFC does underpay its fighters relative to, what they could pay them. So no one's going to dispute that. It is the perfect excuse. And he did it. And that exactly what I said was going to happen, happened. He's going to do it. Francis was like, please, I want to fight John Jones next. Like, if the heavyweight champion's like, this is the fight I want, and it doesn't happen, there's something going on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm off that topic, and I think I'm going to get to the part of the podcast that I enjoy the most, and I'm going to answer Discord questions. Okay, so first question is, how do you think Demetrius Johnson would fare against Khabib if they fought in the same weight class? Okay, well, I don't think Demetrius Johnson would beat Khabib, simply because Demetrius Johnson is one of the best fighters I've ever seen. He is the greatest of all time, in my opinion. But I don't know if he can stop Khabib from top gaming him. Now, what I do know is that Demetrius Johnson would offer resistance, and heavy resistance. He's one of the best at using a single and double collar tie to use knees to completely dissuade wrestlers. I think that Khabib would get his body and his face torn up trying to cage press Demetrius, which would limit his options to open space shots, and that is where he could get Demetrius down, and I think he would get Demetrius down, because that's the thing about Khabib. People say he's one-dimensional. He is not. I know that grappling is one part of MMA, but there are so many ways you can grapple in MMA that, Khabib being able to switch between a cage style and an open mat style like that so seamlessly makes him an incredible grappling threat. You need to be good at all phases, and I don't think that Demetrius Johnson at size parity would be able to stuff him enough. I think he would stuff eventually, and I would love to be wrong, and it would be really cool to see if a size parity Demetrius Johnson, Granby roll out of a Khabib takedown. That would be so cool. I think that he could do that, but I don't think there's a fighter in MMA history that I would pick to beat Khabib at size parity. I just don't see it. He's too good. He's too good at enforcing his game plan. He's too good at forcing the fight where he wants to be. He will get in your face. He will pressure you. There is no pressuring him. It is crazy. So, yeah, at size parity, same weight class, whatever, I don't think Demetrius Johnson would beat Khabib, but I think that he would put up a very, very respectable showing. What is your dream fight? Any fighter, any era, any weight class, skill set for skill set purposes. That is a good question. That is a really good question. I have to think about that for a second. Now, I don't think... Okay, so the first one that comes to mind, but I don't think this would be like the one that I pick. I think I would have to think on it longer. But just coming up off the top of my head, I think it'd be really cool to see Alistair Overeem and John Jones fight. I want to see that. Like, the way their skill sets are put together, I think that would be fascinating because one of Jones' best attributes is his clinch fighting, his infighting, but can he do that against Overeem? Overeem's insanely strong and proficient in the clinch as well. Can he take Overeem down? It is possible to take Overeem down, but he has pretty good takedown defense. In open space, it would be a battle of volume versus precision. I know that Jones is going to be spamming kicks, and Alistair is going to be hitting Jones with whatever strikes he throws. So, I mean, I just think that's a fascinating fight, and I would like to see that. Too many close rounds lead me to want to have a 10-10 become more a popular thing. Okay, that was hard to read. But that can lead to many draws. How do you propose we solve this? Do you think if the fight is a draw score-wise, should we then be able to have another step where the judges judge it like pride and score the fight as a whole? I actually don't know if I agree with that. Reading that and like my first like gut instinct is like no. I don't. I think if the fight's a draw, it should be a draw, right? Like, I don't know. I actually like the 10-point must system. I know that people have criticisms of it, but I think that it provides a sport competitive aspect to it. Like, okay. Actually, I know that this is might be controversial, but I do think that you should be able to see live judges' scorecards, like whoever the official judges are and how they score it. That should be information that you should know, because in any other sport, you know how much you're down, you know how much this is happening. Like, I just feel like that. I feel like that would add a more competitive edge to it. So. But no, I don't think that we should like flip it and judge it as a whole like Pride did in unison with the 10-point must system. I don't think I wouldn't advocate for that. Do you think that number one contender fights like Whitaker versus Cannonier should be 5 rounds even if they're not the main event on a fight night? Yes, of course. What I want is every top 3 fight, every fight in the top 5 or top 3, whatever you want to compromise on, should be 5 rounds. I don't care. Like, I know that we're going to have to sit through some stinkers in the women's flyweight division, or even maybe sometimes heavyweight division. We're going to have to sit through terrible fights. I get that. I understand that. But we're also going to get a lot of fucking awesome fights. So, I think the trade-off is worth it. Like, for example, like, I went to bed when I watched Martin Vettori and Kevin Holland. It was like round 3, I think, and, like, Kevin Holland just got taken down again in the fucking same fashion he did the last 2 rounds. And I just was like, I'm going to bed. So yeah, there are definitely fights where it would be like that. So just don't watch. Like, if it's like Jessica I versus, Jennifer Maia or something, then I understand. Go to bed. I mean, I probably will. But if that means you're telling me that a Robert Whitaker fight's going to be 5 rounds, then I'm going to watch it. I think that it would do more good than bad. So yes, I agree with that. Who is your favorite fighter of all time as a person? As a person? I mean, it's got to be Robert Whitaker or Dustin Poirier, right? I mean, those 2 guys are just angels. Which, Dustin actually, when he was younger, he was a bit more ignorant, whereas Robert Whitaker's never been ignorant, but Dustin has matured into a man, and we like a little character building, What's the most memorable, your most favorite combination landed in MMA for you? First one that comes to mind is the 4-hit combo Cowboy landed against Rick Story. That is my intro to my videos. So, yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. I mean, it's undeniably great. Favorite combination, though? Damn. Like, I'm like racking my brain right now to think of all. Okay. A good one that's unexpected. Maybe Walt Harris and Chase Sherman. I don't know if you remember that. But Walt, it's just so aesthetically pleasing looking. I think he lands like a knee and then a 1-2, like really quick. Like he lands the knee and then boom, boom. And like, it's just so, like, the way it looks is so crazy. So that's one of them. But I don't think it's I think it's the most memorable, but I do remember it. And it's like a low tier heavyweight fight. And I still remember it. Who is your favorite non-UFC MMA fighter, meaning they had no or almost no experience in the UFC? This would include current and retired fighters. Might sound like a bit of a casual, but I'm not really invested in any fighters outside of the UFC. It's not because, you're in the UFC, so I'm invested in you. It just hasn't worked out that way. There's no one that I really gravitate toward that is exclusively out of the UFC. And I know, but off the top of my head, probably Kyoji Horiguchi. I know that he fought in the UFC, fought for the title. But, most of his career now has been outside of it. So, I would actually prefer, he would probably be my favorite because I really root for him and I hope that he wins all the time. So, next question says, I assume DJ is the most technical fighter you've ever seen. Who is second? Well, DJ might be the most technical MMA fighter I've ever seen. But, guys like Jose Aldo probably are the most technical strikers I've seen. Or Max Holloway and stuff like that. I do think that people are technically better than DJ, but how DJ puts it all together is the best I've seen. Who is second? Damn, it's really hard to say. It's got to be Max Holloway or something. I'm just going to say Max Holloway because that dude is fucking insane. So, what's a fight you regret watching? Damn, any women's flyweight fight probably in the top 10 that's not Valentina Shevchenko. Next question is, how would a prime GSP versus prime Robbie Lawler fight play out? Man, now that fight would be fucking sick. So, what I think would be the big decider here is that GSP would be able to hit reactive takedowns on Robbie Lawler. Now, if GSP commits to his jab, Lawler is going to hand fight and paw that away. And I think that Robbie Lawler, juiced out Robbie Lawler, he is going to cause immense trouble for GSP. That's a difficult fight for GSP, I think, with Robbie Lawler's counter wrestling and, ability to stay in a fight no matter how it goes. And, man, that's a really good question. I'm going to lean GSP just because that's what I always do. I always lean the person that I feel like is a better fighter overall, and he's a comparable athlete. So, I'm going to say that GSP wins a very, very hard-fought decision. Do you think Paulo Costa changing gyms will improve his game? He recently just changed to Pitbull's gym, and I'm wondering how his game might change. It's a good question, honestly. That's what fighters need to do. When you lose, you need to look at your surroundings, look where you are, and see how you can improve. If moving's part of that, do it. And obviously it is for him. His game is probably going to remain the same. I think that his physical attributes really complement the type of pressure style he likes. But I think that training with Pitbull will give him some sort of craft to where he doesn't have to just be a wrecking ball. He can actually pick his shots a little more. So yeah, I actually do think it will improve his game. I don't think he's close to done. So yeah, I do. Next question says, who would you want to see as champs at some point in time? Charles Oliveira. What fight in the next year are you looking forward to the most? Damn, the Whitaker and Israel Adesanya rematch. That's just it. Outside of the Figgy and Moreno rematch. Didn't that one, yeah. And then the final question, I'm going to end on it because it actually ends the day it was posted. And it's just funny. 10 Brock Lesnar's versus a full-grown silverback gorilla. Who wins? Okay, so 10 Brock Lesnar's. And I assume you're getting 10 prime Brock Lesnar's. I do feel like they should be able to, there has to be a game plan there. But I do think that they should be able to, potentially rip, some limbs off of the silverback gorilla. In unison, 1, 2, 3, pull, and his arm comes off or something. I do feel like that 10 Brock Lesnar's. Also, if you got just get 8 of them to just bear hug as much as they can. They're gonna get thrown around a little bit. That's not that you can't avoid it, but actually get 8 of them to hold on, and then 2 of them look for chokes. Then I think the gorilla's dead. 10 Brock Lesnar's is too much. Get down to 5, and then it's more of a contest, I think. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and I appreciate you listening. And we'll be back here sooner than later. Appreciate you listening, guys.